list, you know?
Yeah, he's playing the list that Shaheen Surani played in the top 8 just a little while ago, which was that Ali's list.
It's very similar. I mean, Ali didn't have the Bloodghasts in...
Which is Shaheen's innovation.
Nationals.
Yeah.
Right. So there are 3 Bloodghasts in sideboard.
I think Phillip Lee is gonna win this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of set up for this kind of matchup. He's also wearing a scarf.
You know, it's been about a good year since I've seen a lot of scarves.
Yeah, the scarves were big. They were big tech earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But summer came and the format shifted to, scarves weren't good. But, we're getting into headed in the fall,
Things
and I think the
shift and
format's
change.
going to shift back right to a scarf format. Definitely see a lot of players, going with the scarves. Phillip leading the way here, at least at this point. So Jerry Thompson was scooped into the top 8 by AJ. So he was scooped, and then AJ scooped to him, and now he's drawing into top 8. So we know that Jerry Thompson is in top 8. So yeah, we were talking a little while ago, right before break, about the articles and trying to read as much as possible. Like, I definitely prioritize reading Star City Premium articles, and then I move over to the select articles, and then I think I go to Daily MTG, and usually I check Daily MTG for any announcements.
Yeah, I usually go to Daily MTG first.
Yeah.
And then go from there. And that's actually funny because when they announced the Modern change, I was behind the times on that one, and I found out about it hours later, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious. Okay, we got an opening play here. Phillip Lee, Inquisition of Kozilek. He's on the draw here. Jonathan has already laid a Glacial Fortress. We see Preordain, and Gideon, and...
Dismember Squadron Hawk?
You could be correct there. I would probably take one of those Preordains, honestly, even though there's a Hawk there, because there's so little mana. Maybe you just take the Hawk just to get that part of the engine out of the deck.
Yeah.
Hawk is the better call. I rescind my earlier statement.
There's the Preordain into what I want to say was a Blade Splicer again. I keep seeing a card and I'm thinking it was Blade Splicer.
And he finds a Celestial Colonnade with the Preordain and then just drops it down. He already has an Inky in his hand, Inkmouth Nexus. We have another Inquisition. And so perhaps this time going to get... there's a Dismember, Gideon, and Preordain. Goodbye, Preordain. There you go. And we're going to probably see another land here from Phillip Lee. It's a Creeping Tar Pit.
There's that Inkmoth Nexus. Third land for Phillip, and passes back. So we're in draw go mode at this point. Phillip able to provide a little bit of information and disruption. Jonathan only really able to cast a Preordain.
The Seachrome Coast.
Comes into play tapped. Obviously that was off the top, or at least likely. And I definitely see Consecrated Sphinx in Phillip's hand. There's a land Solemn Simulacrum. I think that's a Drowned Catacombs that he just played.
Ah, and it's original Jens Thorin art.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Now, personally, I think any invitational card, when it's reprinted, should be required to have some image of the invitational winner.
Whether it's the original art or new art commissioned of the same winner.
Yeah. And Jens Thorin, the invitational winner for the Magic the Gathering Invitational, one of the prizes for this is designing a Magic card. And then your image is on the Magic card.
Right.
The most famous of these probably is Dark Confidant, which is Bob Maher Jr. Preordain from Jonathan, and I'm still not going to try to say Wdowiasz.
Wdowiasz.
Is that Wdowiasz? Wdowiasz,
It
maybe?
looks like Wdowiasz. May as well pronounce it somehow and hope.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't pronounce it at all, we will never pronounce it right.
An Azure Mage also, straight off the top. He doesn't bother to do any hiding of his draw there. He just takes it right off the top and puts it into play.
Yeah.
Follows the Seachrome Coast, 5 mana there. And Phillip Lee definitely has 2 lands in play. One of them he drops into play right away. Then a Drowned Catacombs, I think. Attacks with Jens Thorin, the Solemn Simulacrum.
I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a Consecrated Sphinx hit the board.
Sphinx is a monster.
There it is. It is a giant mosquito.
Untap.
Oh my god, man.
And the draw from Jonathan.
You tell me that doesn't look like a mosquito. It's all skinny.
I kind of wonder if the Consecrated Sphinx is wearing a headdress or something.
Very, very strange.
In comes Azure Mage, and Phillip Lee knows there's a Dismember in Jonathan's hand. Does not block, takes 2.
Seems
and
like a good play.
Jonathan taps down and casts a Gideon, which is going to resolve. And he's like, attack it.
Yeah, so that's gonna make that Sphinx tap and potentially. Well, I mean, he's gonna trade the Gideon for the Sphinx.
Jonathan lays a land, a Celestial Colonnade, afterwards.
So I believe there's a tar pit on board, so Phillip can kill the Gideon here. At the cost of tapping most of his mana. Or that is, tapping most of his lands. And that looks like the plan. So
there it is.
Activate the Creeping Tar Pit. I have to attack Gideon. Yeah.
Here they
Jonathan
come.
looks at his hand and goes, I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
That's not that I'm doing. Oh, right. I don't have a play.
I mean, if he had a Surgical Extraction in his deck, he could do that. But
yeah, that'd be
that's about it.
an
Double Sandstorm. I can't remember the name of the free Phyrexian Sandstorm.
option. Neither can I. So there.
Azure Mage comes on in.
Yeah. And it's awesome how Sphinx kind of shuts down that Azure Mage quite a bit, too.
Sphinx is just an amazing card. And we get a 7th land here from Jonathan.
Look at their hands. Jonathan has, I want to say, like either 1 or 2 cards in hand. And Phillip is just
Full up. He's got everything
yeah.
he needs.
full of cards.
I mean,
Phillip happy to take 2 damage from an Azure Mage every turn at the moment.
Tectonic Edge Creeping Tar Pit from Jonathan.
Yeah.
And I
it's
think
like,
Phillip's okay with that too. It's like, okay, that's fine.
right. Kind of Jonathan's probably wishing he had that last turn available just to keep that Gideon alive. I think Jonathan was planning on killing the Sphinx with Gideon. Either didn't see the Creeping Tar Pit, or I mean, I guess he didn't really take advantage of that turn he had. So I have a feeling he just didn't realize it. So Phillip in a tough spot deciding what exactly he should cast out of the 8 or 9 cards in his hand. You know, it's a tough spot.
I mean, basically, his job here is not to screw it up.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's got all of the tools to keep things well under control. He just has to make sure he doesn't do things that turn that around.
Here comes I believe another Solemn Simulacrum. Well, maybe not. You just untap the land.
I see 3 mana now. 4 mana. Here's probably Solemn.
And Jonathan says, okay. Island fetched and put into play tapped.
Draw.
Yeah.
Jonathan's like, well, you know what? You've got so many cards in your hand. I'm just going to let you have a Merfolk Looter effect because I want one card.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's almost like cracking a standstill at the end of somebody's turn when they're full, you know?
I mean, to be fair, it's possible that it's worth his while to do that. I mean, as crazy as that sounds. I don't know that it is, but maybe.
So, see now, Jonathan has the potential to block the Sphinx with an Inkmoth Nexus and then dismember it. Or then again, declare it as a blocker, block the, or dismember it and then then let damage go through. So keep his Inkmoth Nexus, but combine the Inkmoth Nexus with dismember is what I was getting at there.
Right.
But
Another
then again,
land.
Considering how many cards Phillip's drawn, the damage may already be done.
Oh, yeah.
At least it seems that way.
I think it's more than May. It is done. The damage is done.
Sounds fair. The other thing is there's tectonic edges over on that side of the board, so that Inkmoth Nexus is never blocking.
Well, we get the attempt, right?
Right, I mean, yeah.
Let's see
Yeah, so
if Phillip Lee passes the test.
Yeah, I think...
Let me see what you got over there. What is that? It's a Mystifying Maze, and it does not save your guy. So, okay, good to know, good to know. He taps one of his blue-white lands to make an Inkmoth be a potential blocker. Can I block? He asks. Makes another one a potential blocker.
Here we go.
How about we say no.
Both dead. And now you take 8.
I mean, maybe a Zermage trades to give you some more time. I mean,
yeah.
I almost certainly would have. At this point, Phillip Lee has not shown himself to be making any wild errors, so I probably would have scooped for the opportunity to maybe get into a game 3.
Good call, yeah. I mean, the funny thing is here, I mean, he took 6 there. He's still on a 2-turn clock. Or, 1-turn clock now.
The way I kind of look at it is that you have to win game 2. You know you're playing against a control deck. It's very reasonable for the game to go long. Mm-hmm. And then you have to win game 3. So when it's wrapped up, if my opponent has shown me that they're not going to make wild mistakes, I'm just going to scoop it up so I can make sure that game 3 happens. Time is a resource.
Yeah, Jonathan, I don't believe he has any cards in his hand. Wait, he had a Dismember, so gotta have a hand somewhere.
He's got a hand somewhere.
Oh, he's holding them close to his chest. Oh, there it is. It's his left hand. So, Phillip discards, passes the turn, Jonathan draws, Phillip draws twice. I mean, you're at 6 life. Can you really fight your way back into this game? He's got an Into the Royal. Phillip has all the cards he wants and 4 mana untapped. And definitely a mana leak. So, Into the Royal, not kicked, can potentially get through a mana leak. Jonathan also, Jonathan scooped him up. He also had a mana leak, but at this point he was just delaying the inevitable, it seemed like. So Phillip Lee takes game 1 with blue-black control over Jonathan Wdowiasz playing Hero Blade here in round 10, the final round of the Swiss rounds.
I definitely think that it's possible, that Jonathan can bring in some cards that might help him in this matchup, but this is a rough one for him, I think.
Right. Another Azure Mage seems good.
Frost Titan simply as a threat. And maybe
Day of Judgment I'm looking at? Like
Revoke Existence can make a gens less powerful. It's
that's
great.
not the kind of thing it seems like. It doesn't even seem like it's that valuable. Like unless you're taking out something that's completely dead.
Yeah, and on the flip side of this, this particular build is less weak to Bloodghast. But Bloodghast is one of the weapons that I know Shaheen said is devastating in this matchup because you just simply always have that Bloodghast being able to come in and do work.
Can't block though.
Which he says you're not going to do because
I know, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I always joke about that because that's all it says. And, it's just like Bloodghast can't block. It just jumps out at me for some reason.
Into the Royal and Despise are possible weapons from Phillip Lee. Into the Royal being a great tempo changer as well as a way to fight over Planeswalkers. And then Despise being able to hit Planeswalkers as well as Squadron Hawk. And in Jonathan's list, there are quite a few particular creatures as well. I mean, we saw Azure Mage, so we know that there is more than just Squadron Hawk to hit, which is usually the case.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that he ever saw Blade Splicer or a Hero of Bladehold, or even a Consecrated Sphinx on the other side in Jonathan's hand. But we know that Jonathan has those. Phillip may know as well. This deep into the tournament, playing against someone who is probably, like you said earlier, playing in the same general vicinity. You may have seen some of the cards they're playing. So Phillip seems very confident. I don't know if it's the scarf that gives him that look or what. Definitely.
I think scarves do add an air of above it all.
Yeah, of confidence. Definitely. Definitely something there. Alright, so both players shuffling up for game 2. They should probably speed it up considering they're both playing these slow decks and Phillip has very little reason to rush. Unless Jonathan's able to take game 2 pretty quick.
Yeah, and one of the things, a lot of people just don't consider the actual resource that is time. And what will happen is that as they get close to the end of the round, suddenly they'll realize, I'm almost out of time,
right.
I better hurry. But you know what? Time is a factor in the first game.
Yeah.
In the second game. As you're deciding, what to search for in any moment in the game.
Right.
When you shuffle. And they all do add up. One of the things I often do when I'm playing against somebody that I feel is a little bit slower of a player is if they're having fun conversations with their friends during a match, and it's a real match, being like, hey, we're playing a match here. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I just know that I don't want to get to a position where we're at time, and there we go. It's a draw instead of a win.
Phillip having a great time there. Looks like actually both players having some lively conversation. Even the peanut gallery watching, having a good time.
That was 20 minutes for the first game there.
What? How much time's left in the round?
29 minutes remain.
Wow. Yeah, so almost half the round just for game 1.
Yeah, so Jonathan, I think, his decision in the game 1 there to not just scoop when Phillip didn't show himself to be, a foolhardy player.
Incompetent, right.
That could be really significant.
So Phillip now is mulliganing.
A mulligan might eat up another 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, this is actually one of the things I think that is not being abused here, but it's one of those things that definitely has come up in the past where people abuse the clock with legitimate game actions. One of the good articles that was on Star City Games a while back is Alexander West's article, Greatness at Any Cost, where he basically makes the claim that Tamaharu Saito didn't make the Hall of Fame because of things like that. Playing too close to what he calls the tilt line.
In the meantime,
Jonathan, turn 1 Inquisition, Spell Pierce for the turn 1 Phillip Lee Inquisition of Kozilek.
Yeah, very good.
And then says go on turn 2. Go from Phillip Lee after laying
Tech Edge, foil Tech Edge.
Okay. And a Tectonic Edge from Jonathan.
And there's a Blade Splicer.
If this resolves, this is a fast clock. He can make a game happen pretty quick.
Phillip seems to... Oh no, he lets it resolve. Okay, so...
And does not end of turn Doomblade or go for the Throat It.
Yeah, so...
Does lay a Jace. He can up it. Yep, he does. Puts it to 5 counters. And it will not die from the attack.
Jonathan may not even be that interested in attacking Jace.
I think you always have to be interested in attacking Jace at this stage in the game.
Fair enough. Just depends on how fast the clock is. He may just want to...
I'd say 3 to the Jace, 1 to him. I mean, maybe he'll just go to the dome like you're talking about. I mean, it looks like it was straight to the dome there.
Yeah,
Jace for Jace. Okay, he's got his own Jace, so then that nullifies that as a question mark. Tapped out with 4 there. We're going to see Phillip Lee, what he does in this moment. 4 mana of his own. Are we going to see a Jens? There's Jens Thorin, the Solemn Simulacrum.
Ramps him right back into the play, basically. He was on the draw this game. Now he's got to step up.
Now you'll notice all these different shuffle and search effects. Phillip's being pretty quick about it. He's not abusing it. He's being, taking a rational, reasonable amount of time. But it does eat away at the clock. Jonathan has to be able to get 2 games in if he hopes to win this match.
And he draws a Hero of Bladehold, which we may see hit the board right now while Phillip's tapped out. Phillip does not play Day of Judgment in his blue-black deck.
Why not?
I have a feeling he would have trouble casting it.
Oh.
However, he does have other sweepers. Now the question is, how many sweepers would he have kept in or brought in, considering he didn't see many creatures from Jonathan? At this point, Jonathan's really only cast 1 dude. Well, nothing happening right now. Jonathan is pondering, and not necessarily playing the card Ponder, but just thinking about what he's going to do here, considering what to do. He looks to have a sort of Feast and Famine and Into the Royal in his hand. Also, we know he has a Hero of Bladehold, and I couldn't quite see what else, so he's trying to decide what exactly he wants to play here.
It feels like he's casting the newfangled Ponder with the 3 moons, and that's how much time is passing while he makes this decision.
Yeah, seems like an awful lot of thinking going on. He does have, there's a Tech Edge. Okay, so plays a Tech Edge. And he can play a Sword Equip if he wants. Decides not to do that. Looks like he just goes with swing in with the Golem, which is interesting too because Phillip just blocks and draws a card. And Sword of Feast and Famine from Jonathan. Of course, Phillip being tapped out doesn't do anything there.
2 mana open for Jonathan. This is actually a really interesting position here. Because if Phillip goes in to try to kill everything, that 2 mana can mean that a Mana Leak or Spell Pierce can really cause Phillip a problem, and then the Sword of Feast and Famine might connect. And there we have another Solemn Simulacrum. Mana Leak for that. Does that resolve?
Yeah, Phillip can Mana Leak Jonathan's Mana Leak if he chooses, and he does.
And he does.
So again, we have Phillip being tapped out on Jonathan's turn.
Very few cards left. 3 cards left for Phillip.
Now, the fact that that sword gives protection from black and green is not relevant for that Solemn Simulacrum, so it's going to be able to chump block whichever dude happens to pick up the sword. And Phillip's happy to chump block, not only saves the damage, but draws him a card and keeps Jonathan from being able to untap all his lands due to the sword trigger. However, if Jonathan's able to just kill the Simulacrum or get it off the board.
It's not unreasonable to equip up the Blade Splicer and just attack with both of the creatures and kill the Simulacrum, have 3 mana or 4 mana if there's a land from Jonathan up, and then have no creatures from Phillip. The Into the Royal, though, wow. There's an Into the Royal in hand. So.
Yeah, he does. So he could clear the board that way if he wants. And that's look what it looks like. He's going to bounce it.
Yep.
Equip.
Always strange to Into the Royal a gens, but nothing wrong with it.
Right.
He puts it on the Blade Splicer, attacks for 5 and 1.
They're on the Golem, actually.
First strike. Yeah, the Golem. That's what I meant to say. Hence the 5. And untaps his 5 lands. And now it looks like he's thinking about Tectonic Edge.
Or Hero of Bladehold. He's got that at the front of his hand, and it seems like... So yeah, maybe he is thinking about Tech Edge, but...
I mean, tapping down... Right now, I mean, what does he have, a Gideon and a Hero in his hand?
Didn't see the Gideon, but you could be right.
I'm not 100% sure. All I know is the Hero, and I'm...
Definitely got a Hero and a Mana Leak. I just saw.
Is it Mana Leak?
There's a Mana Leak, yeah.
Okay. I mean, maybe you just want to sit on the Hero,
it's Hero
just to
and
have,
Mana
like,
Leak.
a backup in case anything goes wrong.
Something to recover with,
Yeah, he says go.
At this point, he's got a pretty nice board position and a Mana Leak to help protect it. But Phillip has a lot... We've got 7 lands, and he can... play an 8th. There's 8 lands in play.
Yeah, he can lay Solemn Simulacrum, get a little bit more land yet. Block at will.
What I wonder about is what is in Phillip's hand besides that Simulacrum.
Is that a Sphinx? I think I see a Sphinx.
I didn't see it. He flicked them very quickly.
And, okay, as soon as he stops moving them, and then he hides his hand. Solemn Simulacrum once again.
Surprise.
And Jonathan thinks about countering, but says no. And Phillip gets yet another land in play that makes him
gonna make
even
that Mana
more
Leak a dead
immune
card.
to Mana Leak. Once he gets that land in play, he actually will have a grand total of 9 mana, so that a Sphinx or a Grave Titan is immune to Mana Leak.
Yeah.
Phillip's life total is diminishing rapidly, but Jonathan has to make something happen to actually have that matter.
I see, I want to say, is that Jace? Wow, Phillip is very good at flicking his cards quick enough to where I can't see them at all. Okay, so here comes into the red zone Blade Splicer holding a sword, which Jonathan happened to move over this time, and the Golem token. And so the Phillip is going to get hit for 3 either way. It seems to me that he just blocks the Splicer holding the sword.
Three damage to Phillip, and Phillip is going to draw a card from Solemn Simulacrum.
And we have a Tech Edge for a Colonnade there.
Draws a card.
Phillip has a decided mana advantage.
He has to actually turn this into some sort of card.
He needs to capitalize on it. So draws his card. I know he has. I think maybe 4 cards in his hand, and 2 of them are lands. I want to say there's an island and a tar pit.
Somebody had their thunderstorm. That guy's supposed to call staff. We were just trying to figure out what to do.
I just didn't want them like.
Now we have a few manas being tapped here. 1, 2, 3. Is it going to be Jace? There's a little Jace. He decrements, I believe, to draw a card. Looking for some sort of useful card here. Land, taps out into the Mana Leak here to drop down what? Wormcoil Engine he does not have in the deck, so it'd be a Sphinx most likely, or maybe a Black Sun Zenith for 3.
Or Grave Titan.
Grave Titan would not actually help him very much, right? He would go down to 2 from the hero, or not the hero, from the Volition Reigns. Oh my goodness. It's worth mana leaking.
Yeah, it certainly is.
That would untap that little token so it could serve as a blocker. And here, a land means that Phillip Lee dies. 4 mana. Hero of Bladehold dropped for some reason. He attacks. All to you, I think. I think he's dropping Phillip to 1. The Celestial Colonnade is back. So that I guess that's a good backup plan if things get blown up.
And
what is that?
Azure Mage.
An Azure Mage. All of the Eggy Wigs on the table.
Yeah.
And now perhaps equip.
He's trying to decide where to put that sword, I think.
I mean, let's pretend that the worst happens for Jonathan. The worst would be a Black Sun Zenith. Jonathan can still win right off the top with a land. Okay, so we got a draw. Then we're gonna have another draw. And let's see what Phillip does. This could be it. Might be a game 3.
Consume the Meek?
Consume the Meek doesn't kill the
help
hero.
him, right, he
says
needs
go.
more than that. He's gonna.
He could have Consume the Meek plus Doomblade.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna need 2 spells here, but I'm just, he passed the turn here. Seems to be no reason to do that unless you have instants.
Here they all come.
Oh.
Phillip drops it.
I just had lands. My gosh, with all those lands in play, he had, and I think his hand was just full of lands. I think that was double Tar Pit, at least. That was kind of nuts. So Jonathan evens it up at a game apiece here in round 10.
15 minutes left. To the sideboard. Now, one of the things that's actually really interesting, Jonathan, he did all of that work on the back of a single Blade Splicer being cast.
Yeah, that's really kind of crazy. Now both players, how much time is left, did you say?
15 minutes,
15 minutes?
as of a few seconds ago, so probably 14 and a half now.
Okay, so that took about 15 minutes just now, so they can get a game done in 15 minutes if they play.
And that was
quickly
actually a game where that was a quick game.
Yeah.
So to speak. The last couple of turns there, Phillip took more time perhaps than he probably should have, because he's the one now who's under the gun more for the clock, because it takes him a lot longer to win. His fastest kill is going to be off of a Grave Titan, but just dropping a Grave Titan down is dangerous. For those of you who are just joining us, this is round 10 of the Star City Games live series. This is standard. We're here in Boston. I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Joey Pasco. And we're going to see one of these players make the top 8. The worst thing that could happen is if they draw, it's very likely they both fail to make top 8.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Again, you come up with that situation where do you draw? Do you concede to the person who has the board position and looks like they're about to win, or do you leave it pure? And if it comes out and turns out to be a draw, let it be a draw.
Now, they shuffle. Pile shuffling, riffle shuffling.
Yeah, they
Eating a little bit more time on the clock.
Adrian checking the clock now. How much time?
We are down to 12 minutes.
12 minutes. I mean, that's their 3 minutes of sideboarding and shuffling. All right, guys. They are shuffling each other's decks now, so they've presented.
And it's going to be Phillip on the play now. Phillip appears to be laying a land, and I think he might be Inquisition of Kozilek. Not quite sure what he... yep, it's an Inquisition. Preordain, Dismember, Into the Royal.
Mana
Two
Leak.
cards I can't quite make out. Mana Leak.
I think it's
and,
Preordain, Into the Royal, Dismember, Mana Leak.
And he's got Tectonic Edge and a blue-white land.
Or is that Blade Splicer, actually?
I think it might be a Blade Splicer.
Yeah, for a second I thought it was Preordain, but...
I mean, I think you just take the Blade Splicer here. Oh,
Is that
takes the
what that
Preordain.
was?
If that is a Blade Splicer.
Right,
I'm not quite sure.
Me too.
And Jonathan goes turn 1 Seachrome Coast go. Back to Phillip. Phillip, land go. Jonathan has top decked a Squadron Hawk. Goes Tectonic Edge, Squadron Hawk. That gets countered by a Mana Leak, it looks like.
I think it was a Mana Leak. Now there's a
A
big glare.
glared Mana Leak. Can't confirm. It could be another card. It's probably Mana Leak.
Probably a Mana Leak. It definitely countered it. I don't think it's Essence Scatter.
Yeah. What's the name of the blue one? The new one?
Psychic Barrier?
Psychic Barrier.
Is that in the deck?
It's not in the deck.
It's not in the deck.
Third land now. A Dark Slick. And a third land on the other side. And that looks like it's a Seachrome Coast.
Certainly is. So we're at the draw-go point of the game, which seems to happen after a couple of Inquisitions and Preordains most games. Land
We're at
go.
the 10-minute mark now.
Okay.
4 land from Phillip, leaves it all untapped. Jonathan lays a Glacial Fortress, says go. And there we see a Creeping Tar Pit from Phillip. And yet another go.
Whole lot of draw going happening. Okay.
We have the 6th land from Phillip. He selects his land carefully, and I think it's going to be a Jace Beleren.
Did Jonathan miss a land drop last turn? I think so.
Yes,
I think he did,
Jonathan missed a land drop. Jace Beleren. Jonathan, if he wants to counter this, has to counter it with more work than normal. But it could tap Phillip out in order to do that work. For example, just casting Mana Leak might not stop Jace, but it would tap Phillip out if he wants to fight for it.
Right.
And Phillip says, sure, I'll pay for it. And now it's back to Jonathan. Jonathan's like, okay. Phillip draws a card, and he's going to pass. And Jonathan, end of turn, does nothing else. So here he is. He lays, looks like he drawn a Blade Splicer there.
I think so, yeah. And
And
is
then
that
there's
an
a blue
O-ring?
ring?
Yeah, there's an O-ring in his hand.
He taps 3 lands.
O-ring for Jace. Trying to change his mana around here. O-ring to Jace or Bellerin of his own. Yeah.
O-rings the Jace.
A little better.
Says go. Phillip untaps. 2 mana back for Jonathan. So this is a Mana Leak and an Oblivion Ring to stop the Jace. And there's a 7th mana for Phillip Lee. Think about the swing there in card advantage. That's a 2 for 0 for Phillip. So he's up, up 2 full cards. 4 mana now. I think we're going to see a Jen's Thorin. No, Into the Royal with Kicker. With 3 mana up to stop a Mana Leak from stopping it. Does Jonathan want to do a similar thing where he says...
Yeah.
And he's like, nope, okay. So Jace comes back as a 3, and then he activates it to draw a card, dropping it down to 2. Drawing a card from the end of the Royal, and then drawing a card from Jace.
Phillip drawing all sorts of cards here.
Now Phillip still has to close this game out and win in time.
Yeah, last game he had so much mana and couldn't pull it out because he didn't have any threats. Now we have an Azure Mage hitting the board for Jonathan, which appears to have resolved. I'm not sure.
7 minutes.
Alright, so Azure Mage is either on the stack or... Okay, hit the table and Doomblade.
Phillip untaps. Jace is around. Many lands in play, a full grip.
And a Jace not the Mind Sculptor.
Not the Mind Sculptor. That would be actually something I think Jonathan would love to see from Phillip.
Absolutely.
Jace the Mind Sculptor. Judge?
Yeah, so there's Despise, Into the Royal, Oblivion Ring, Frost Titan, Not Sure, and Despise. What is that? Is that a Blade Splicer?
I think it's a Blade Splicer.
Can't tell. It's
perhaps.
a foil. It's throwing me off.
This is literally the last live match of Magic in the room during this round 10. Everyone else is done. We're waiting for these 2.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
And Phillip Lee draws. Looks like a foil island to me.
But Phillip did take care of that Frost Titan with the Despise, in case you were wondering. Not in good shape here, I don't think, for Jonathan. Jonathan's not in good shape, that is.
We're waiting for Phillip to come up with a plan here to actually win this game in time. I mean, these 2, I mean, they don't have to take a draw if they run out of time. One of them could concede.
Right. So here we go with a
Creeping Tar Pit
into the red zone.
Is that a term that's used anymore officially?
What, the red zone? I don't know, I say it.
Well, yeah.
I use it.
I'm just curious officially.
I don't know what officially means.
Like Wizards of the Coast terminology. And
I didn't know that it was ever official, right? I thought it was just like,
that was what they called the combat zone, the red zone. Okay, here we go. Jonathan untaps. He does not dismember the Creeping Tar Pit.
Yeah, he did have the option there to dismember. And Phillip knew he had the option to dismember too. But I think he was happy. He was going to hit for 3 or hit for 4 if that dismember, if it was the dismember that Jonathan decided he wanted to cast.
6 mana for Jonathan. Still pretty far behind in the mana race. Well, not so far. 6 to 7. I thought it was 6 to 8.
Yeah, I think so.
Sphinx in Phillip's hand as well, and a 8th land in Phillip's hand.
So that doesn't do too much because he can't play Sphinx and then just have mana out for Mana Leak. He also can't play Sphinx and then Mana Leak a Mana Leak and expect it to to fight off the other Mana Leak. But
4 minutes.
He's going for it anyway. So.
And Jonathan says, okay. Draw, and Phillip Lee says, I will draw also. This is, I believe, that might be off of the Jace, actually, not even the draw phase. He's got a response. I think this is off of the Jace.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense here.
Into the Royal. Okay, says Phillip Lee. We will both draw a card, and you have thrown away and Into the Royal.
Yeah. So, passes the turn back to Jonathan. Plays a Glacial Fortress, and... Is he going to pass the turn? Is he going to O-ring the Jace? Is he going to... He knows the Sphinx is in hand over there.
3 minutes remain.
Getting
a
down
word to the
here.
wise. Players considering playing Black-Blue Control, or any other control deck, make sure that you can pace yourself so that you can close out games if it goes to game 3. There are a few Creeping Tar Pits in play, I think.
Let's see. He's setting something up here.
6 mana again. Is that
probably
gonna be
the Sphinx?
Sphinx again with 3 mana back.
Jonathan's not doing very much to close this game out either. So
yeah.
it's basically Jonathan's playing to draw at this point because Jonathan has no threats.
Mana leak. And Phillip Lee pays for it.
Yeah.
Activates the Jace.
Just for himself.
Just for himself.
And now draws off Sphinx.
There is an Oblivion Ring in Jonathan's hand.
Yeah. Which is going to likely hit that Sphinx.
Oh, yeah. O-ring on the tapped out Phillip Lee. Oh, first, is that a timely reinforcement?
That's what that is. It's foil. It's been throwing me off the whole game.
Oh, I mean, if you're thinking that you might draw it out, 2 minutes remain, and there are 3 1/1 tokens, and Jonathan is at 23 now.
Yeah, that's timely reinforcements is not what either player really wants to see there, to be honest with you.
I feel like Jonathan putting a timely reinforcements into his deck is him saying this: I choose to make it more likely that there's a draw. Because, honestly, Jonathan wants to be the one with creatures on the table.
Yeah.
And we get...
Exactly, and he's got so many creatures in his deck. It seems like way more likely that Jonathan has creatures on the table, and...
Karn.
Wow.
Okay, and Karn can take care of that Oblivion Ring if he wants.
He can, yeah. He says, no,
he's
make you
gonna hit
exile
your
your hand.
Your hand.
He's like, I'm going to restart this game.
1 minute remains. And goodbye, Dismember. I mean, at this point, I'm trying to come up with some method with which this does not end up in a draw. And it has to be by decision. They have to agree one of them wins.
Phillip is playing for the restart the game with Karn plan.
Yeah, actually, that'd be kind of fun.
It would be hilarious.
See what happens.
Time's up. What turn are you guys on? 1?
Yeah, we're on turn 1.
Turn 1. Wait a minute.
And we see a Tectonic Edge at the end of the turn to get rid of a Creeping Tar Pit. As the time dribbles down, almost nothing left.
Definitely in just seconds.
Yeah, we're in the second mode now.
As Jonathan straightens up his soldiers, looks at Karn. We really need like some kind of buzzer thing over there, or something that so they know that time is expiring. It's out. Time is up.
Okay.
Again, as Jonathan flips Karn around to kind of read it, admire the artwork.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty cool art. Not as cool as the original Karn, but...
I agree. I actually don't like the new art as much.
Seeing Karn as a planeswalker, it makes me think that perhaps one day Jaya Ballard might be a planeswalker.
She's a planeswalker in the storyline.
I would love to see a Jaya Ballard. Wizards of the Coast. I'm sure I am not the only one who would like to see Jaya Ballard be a for reals planeswalker. And Jace dies and Karn gets injured. Go. It is now turn 1. Can you kill in very, very little time here? Let's see. Let's pretend he lays Grave Titan.
Wait, how many Creeping Tar Pits does he have,
2, maybe 1. He just
I know he lost 1, yeah. He may not have enough, yeah. Just trying to think of... He's got 3 attack phases.
I think, let's pretend he lays a Grave Titan, right? And then next turn lays a Grave Titan. I think that's still not sufficient. Okay. Looking for Grave Titan number 1.
Yeah, trying to figure out what.
I think this is going to be Grave Titan.
I mean, is he? Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay.
There's the Grave Titan. And Jonathan pretends like he's going to counter it, but doesn't. He's thinking about it. What can he do here? This is I don't think he's used Karn yet, so he could hit
exile the
Oblivion Ring with Karn.
And then he'll be able to get in for 14 on the second attack. Oh no, he can't get in for 14 because there's timely reinforcements.
There's timely reinforcements in play. And so he nukes the hand. I think you still hit the Oblivion Ring just to like try to do something. And Jonathan gets to untap. I believe he's drawn a land and he says go. He thinks about attacking into zombie giant zombie.
Yeah, seems like a one of those things you really want to think about.
He lays a Celestial Colonnade, which is actually very significant. Now, this should be turn 2 of extra turns. We see a Into the Royal on or Doomblade, pardon me, on a token. This should be turn 3. Yeah, I don't know I don't know that it's going to matter, but I mean...
So
he
uses Karn
token.
To exile the thing. Now, was that a Black Sun Zenith? Seems like a bad idea.
Nope,
no, it's a Dismember.
Yep.
Okay.
And now he can swing for 10.
Right, and then the turn after he can swing for 14.
He can do it. He can do it.
He can do it.
Go, Phillip Lee.
The problem is the
Celestial Colonnade.
Does he have a tech edge? Does he? I think he has a tech edge. It might be the most glary card on the screen. There it is.
Yeah,
that is
edge
exactly
on
what it
the
was.
Colonnade.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Phillip Lee could do it on turn 5. And Jonathan has drawn an island.
And there it is.
And that is it.
My gosh.
Phillip Lee, turn 5.
It was the scarf.
The scarf.
Wow. With that,
man.
look at the
crowd.
crowd.
The crowd.
That's everybody in the room. Wow, Phillip Lee in a nail biter down to the wire.
Oh, look, he rolls back in his chair. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that was